Flemington. Right there. Please rise as you're able for the flag salute. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, Eileen, could we take the roll call, please?
Mayor Carroll. Here. Councilwoman Pissarro. Here. Mr. Campion.
Here.
Ethan. Here.
Mr. Hill and Mr. Dashna are excused. Mr. Cook.
Here.
Ms. Weitzman.
You is here. She just takes
Did you? Oh, did I not have that on? Sorry, I'm here.
Mr. Semino.
Here.
Ms. Swingle.
Here.
Mr. Eckel is excused. Mr. Show. Ms. Kaczynski.
Here.
Mr. Galina.
Here.
Mr. Clerico.
Here.
Mr. Troutman is excused and we're waiting for Ms. McManus.
Yes, when she arrives, let's make a note to make a note of that. Okay, item 1 on the agenda is public comments. That's for items not currently on our agenda. If anybody's in attendance or online has anything that they would like to raise in this section, please raise your hand. Use the raise hand function online. Or raise your hand in person. I don't see any. I mean, I don't really see any.
No, the only other attendee is that computer.
Computer has something to say again. Okay, seeing none, we'll move on to item 2, which is mayor comments.
So both my comments, I need that.
Oh, okay. Shall we,
So we can wait
Come
to
back
get
to you.
here, or I think, yeah, maybe we should just let the public know who's watching, if there's any public watching, that we're waiting for Beth who to send us the note saying she was gonna be 5 minutes late.
Right. So I guess we will just contemplate
The
a
universe.
moment for personal reflection. Contemplation.
There you
You
go.
want to take the HPC comments now?
Oh, we
You want
can
to
do
move the
those.
agenda?
That would be okay.
And
Yeah,
you can keep going if you want. We can always go back.
thank you. Should we do the HPC ones? then?
Yes.
You skip review. Right, let's do that. Let's contemplate the HPC comments, please, Dennis.
Okay, Richard Hatch, Richard Giffen provided to Beth and Eileen the updated historic district map. Corrects the designation of the garage behind 8 New York Avenue. So it was changed to non-contributing as we expected. That was the only change. So that's been sent over. And then we have our HPC meeting next week. One agenda item is 171 Main Street, the new T-Berries. It's for painting colors, front door and trim. Moving the walk-in cooler to the back corner of the property. And then adding a matching window to the rear addition of the building. So that's coming before the HPC next week. That's all I have.
Okay, so Dennis, you said the map got sent over, so I'm presuming then that's now gone to council and I can get on the next agenda, is that
Sent
correct?
that to the clerk yesterday after I received the map, along with the resolution from the planning board. Was sent to the clerk.
So I introduced on the 23rd, and you got there on the 24th.
Good speed. Thank you, Dennis. Needed more comments, Dennis, because we see the minutes.
Minutes and, with Mrs. Council comments.
Well, I would rather have
Oh,
her too, because I don't want her dictating what I'm gonna say.
Okay.
Alright, let's go to the approval of the minutes there, unless we have a professional report from.
Down Beth didn't you?
Right.
Yeah, I do want to discuss something in executive session, but other than that, I don't have anything right now.
Okay, well, we'll look forward to that. John, do you have anything for a report? No, just checking, I didn't want to leave you out.
Bob is on.
And Bob's online. Do you have anything, Bob?
Yeah, no, nothing on a waiver report.
Perfect, thank you. So yeah, let's move on to item 6, approval of the minutes from the August 27th regular and special joint meeting with the HPC. Those were distributed. There were some comments also by HPC, which were absorbed into, did they get absorbed? Did we get and marked up with the changes, or we just
Yes.
assumed that the changes were
We
made?
distributed the changes,
Mhm.
there was another one, by the mayor, instead of, Calgary Church, it was Calvary Church, so I think there were 5 references to that, so those were changed as well.
Right.
And Dennis had one comment that I had had copied and pasted an abstention vote from Mr. Campion in the HBC vote, so that was removed as well. So,
Thanks, Dennis. Does anybody else have any comments or anything, additions or anything to make to those minutes that they saw? Okay, well then let's, can I have a motion to approve the minutes?
Sure, so move Cook.
Second. That's for both of them, that's the five?
It counts as one.
Counts as one.
Okay.
Minutes of the, because our meeting kind of encompassed the entire HBC meeting,
So
so.
like nested inside.
Yes.
It would become- Yeah,
Exactly, that's my.
I guess the HPC can approve that part of it.
Exactly. We'll adopt the minutes to the extent that they relate to the planning board, and then the HPC will do their own at their next meeting.
Thank you for the clarification. So, can we take the roll for that then?
Mr. Cook,
Yes.
Mayor Carroll.
Yes.
Councilwoman Sarah.
Yes.
Mr. Campion,
Abstain.
Ms. Giffen,
Yes.
Mr. Cook. I'm sorry.
I was gonna say, yes again.
Yes, again, we were sure.
Can Mr. Campion vote when he voted no on the historic preservation?
Sure, on the minutes, sure.
On the map, in the minutes again? Okay.
Yes.
You can't.
Okay, that's got it.
Ms. Weitzman,
Yes.
Mr. Semina,
Yes.
Ms. Swingle,
Yes.
and Mr. Show.
Yes.
All right, thank you. We are really, well, keep looking at the door.
Yeah.
We can announce that the public hearing in item 7 was carried from the August 27th meeting, but it will be carried again to the September 24th meeting after council reviews on their end.
Yeah,
When did you announce that?
What'd she say?
can we announce, we should say- I'd like to announce that the public hearing carried from August 27th is going to be also carried on
To December 20, September 24th.
20, exactly. September 24th meeting, which will be after council has met, so that we can see if there's anything that needs to be absorbed from that discussion. And we will do that at that time. And then trying to talk as slowly as possible.
Bills.
Bills? Yeah.
Can we we can do this without changing the agenda, right? We can just skip forward to 12 and come back.
We can, I mean, we technically, if you want to make a motion to change the order so that we're dealing with it to the extent till Beth gets here, we could certainly make that motion.
Slowly, very slowly, extremely slowly make that motion.
All right, so can I get a motion to change the agenda to bring item 12?
I
Did you just do that?
just
Thank you.
did. Well.
I'm watching the door from here too.
Oh, my
I'm
God.
not seeing your car drive by, I'm waiting.
To amend the agenda, all in favor?
Yeah.
Any?
We haven't voted yet. Aye.
And this is to move the bills up.
No, just to amend the agenda as needed, I think.
As,
Okay.
Yeah, exactly.
All right, so what's next needed is for us to pay the bills. We can audit the bills. Audit the bills, which were distributed this afternoon. Any comments on those, or can I get a motion to audit the bills?
So move Cook. I'll second it.
All right, let's take a vote.
He's here.
Yay. Let's
Mr.
take a
Cook?
vote on the bills.
Yes.
Mr. Semina,
Yes.
Mayor Carroll.
Yes.
Councilwoman Fasaro.
Yes.
Mr. Campion,
Yes.
Giffen,
Yes.
Mrs. Weitzman,
Yes.
Ms. Swingle,
Yes.
Mr. Show.
Yes.
Okay.
Thank
You
you.
don't know how much you're needed.
Here I am.
We did everything we could, but we couldn't do without you. And we could do without you. So it doesn't rather mean that
Sorry, I'm late.
it's all right.
Well,
It
you let us
happens.
know.
You let us know until we were able to adjust.
But we've eliminated numbers 1, 4, 6, 7, and 12.
So now we're gonna go back.
Dancing around you.
So now we're gonna go back to item 2, mayor comments.
Thank
please.
you, now that Beth is here.
Mm.
So, Beth, last night, the council introduced the ordinance regarding fixing up the zoning. I think that was what was missing.
Oh, the missing ordinance regarding the PO district, correct?
Correct, the
Yep,
council
alright.
would like you to come on the 23rd. If possible, or zoom in or something to just explain, or maybe you could send a memo explaining, because it was so long that this
Yeah.
hadn't been done. And my question is, does that have to come back to the planning board? Because it should have come back tonight. Carly was out yesterday sick, so I couldn't ask her last night,
Yeah,
so,
it's a land use ordinance.
yeah, so it's gotta come back here now on the 24th.
It does.
So you don't have to come on the 24th.
That
You can
works.
come.
I'm on vacation, so that's great. But I can probably commit to the October date.
Yeah, whatever that is.
Yeah,
Okay, so
Okay.
it's the second Monday in October.
okay.
And I'll have Carla transmit, that's what I was afraid of, I said something last night. Somebody. And they said, I don't think so, who did I ask, was it Chris Corsini? I can't remember,
Yeah.
and he said, I don't think so, and I'm like, yeah, I don't think so.
Mhm.
So, I was right, and Carla is out on vacation the rest of the week, so it won't come here, I mean, until next week.
Okay.
All right, but I will make a big note that that
Okay.
ordinance has to come here. Okay, so that's thing one, just always. Stick with my own RMC certification gut.
And Mayor, just so I know, that will be coming to the board on the 24th
Correct,
September? Okay, all right, so I'll do a draft resolution in the event that the board wanted to incorporate its recommendations and adopt the resolution that night.
that ordinance was dated like May of 2023, and I think what happened was. Our former acting clerk left in the middle of the month.
Yep.
Left a week's notice, and Carla didn't start for 6 weeks after that. So I think it's
Ah,
cracks.
Okay.
If we didn't have a clerk, so.
Okay.
Okay, so that's one, and the other one that came up last night was something near and dear to my heart that I've been talking about since I first got elected. Which is the retail only zoning on first floors of Main Street in what is traditionally retail buildings. And getting that in place, the council last year unanimously endorsed the idea. They reaffirmed that last night, that they all want to see retail only and traditionally, meaning. You know, and I'll give the example, the Hawk House, which is the house just south of the parking lot, just south of Mikasa/Red Vanilla. That was a house, and when the owners, Mary and John Hawk, left, it was sold and it became an office building. It was never retail, always been office. Versus other things like banks, which have been traditionally retail forever. Or the houses down where Orvieto's is, was Orvieto's, New Mexico, before that, it was Orvieto's, before that, it was like back when before I was born, it was the Mrs. and Deb shop. So that Victorian home has been retail for, I'm not gonna date myself, but we'll just say more than 50 years. And all the stores in that area, right to Cut Glass, all those houses have been traditionally retail and not offices at all, but real stores with things for sale. I'm asking, Chair, that you reinstate the subcommittee of the Master Plan Ordinance Committee to draft this on behalf of the council. As quickly as possible, the council really would like to see it adopted by the end of the year or earlier. So,
Yeah, well, we didn't reconvene an ordinance committee in the beginning of the year, but we did mention it. And at that time, we mentioned that it would be yourself, Mayor, it would be myself. Dennis showed who had been on the previous committee last year, right? Dennis, do you remember? And Brian.
Yes.
To you. So we definitely want those 4 people, but with the speed that we want to move, you need to move. would it be judicious for us to have? Because the other person that was on last year was
Susan
Angela as the council member, so
And Todd.
would it be appropriate for him to be on also? Then we have 5, then so that we can still have a quorum of 3 if somebody can't turn, if people can't turn up. Okay. Right, I don't wanna. Does that
We
make
can't have
sense?
a quorum of planning board.
Yeah, so you could appoint 5 to the subcommittee, but no more than 4 can meet at any one time.
We have an alternate?
That's what I'm saying. You can appoint 5 to the committee itself, so you have that one extra person, but no more than 4 can meet together at any one time, because otherwise then you'd have a quorum of 9. Quorum of your 9.
Good catch. So as the committee was set up with those original 4, Mr. Zal, would you mind being the alternate for that?
I would be fine with that.
Okay, that sounds like a plan then.
Beth, maybe you can organize a meeting as quickly as possible to get this going, and I would also suggest, since Clinton Town, the town of Clinton has this ordinance, a similar ordinance in place, maybe you can get that and send it out to all of us as like maybe the place to start.
Yeah, I'd be happy to. And just so I'm clear, the direction is just to simply address office on the first floor. This is not about
Not
taking
office,
well,
Retail,
well,
real retail.
eliminating the, yeah,
Services, eliminating services and
Oh.
eliminating offices.
okay, thank you. Okay, so the direction is to eliminate services and offices from permitted uses on the first floor, and that's really,
After those tenants leave, right?
Yes,
I mean,
yes.
everybody's grand,
yeah, it doesn't affect anybody that currently exists.
right?
But, and I don't know off the top of my head, but I think the DD districts in the master plan also had other recommendations, but this is really just focused on offices and
We can talk
services,
about
correct?
that at our first, yes, we can
Okay.
talk about that, but when Robin Lapidus from the FCP and I counted. We counted from Sage all the way to the old Tea Berries, and we counted 8 true retail, not counting restaurants. That's it, on all of Main Street, that's all we got, is 8. And that's, that's not where the borough wants to be, I mean, economy scale, having people. Be able to shop, spend money, and not, have to walk through past 5. Financial. Repair shops and barber shops and, Councilman Trent mentioned last night that he believed that we were. Up to 23 salon and barber shops in our 1 mile town. I mean, this is crazy,
I would not.
23 as of yesterday, So- it's crazy,
Yeah.
so, anyway, okay, so.
Yeah.
Alright, well, I'll get the meeting together very soon. I'll send an email and we'll
Great.
try to get that going.
Thank you.
Yeah, and members of the subcommittee, if you have any absolute blackout that you can't do, blackout dates, let Beth know so she doesn't set something up. On
And
those
the crazy thing
days.
about this is everybody thought we had put this in place already, including Robin,
Mm-hmm.
including our attorney, our zoning, not our zoning
I was
officer, but.
searching for
our-
it, searching.
Our clerk, everybody thought it was in place, and it's because we've been talking about it. To the point where everybody thought it was in place, but it wasn't in place. So, let's get it done.
Okay.
And that would, I know that, there's an attorney on Main Street who's also on the county board of commissioners. Who was upset when we were talking about this, it wouldn't affect him, that house has been a traditional office, it never was a retail establishment. It went right from house, that was Dr. Furman's house, and it went right from Dr. Furman, right to office, well, Dr. Furman had his office in there, I mean, we're talking. Like, before I was born, he went to high school with my dad, so. Scary, but I know, this is just terrifying.
But you would need that if you would need that type of background because of traditional. Your point on saying if it was traditional retail, there were some homes that were retail.
Like Ruby, New Mexico.
And there are some homes that were not, so I don't know how you do that, if it's form-based code, saying it's this building it applies to, this building it does not.
Right.
I almost think you have to, if you're gonna take that, because even if you use things like, I'm just trying to think of, Lee Roth's office, that
Right,
was retail,
always retail.
always retail.
Always retail.
So that building, but now it's been so remodeled into office. So you're really gonna have to go
So-
through
But
and,
I think it makes sense that we would, look at this a little bit more broadly and say, what are the uses that we want in the DB district or maybe and or the DB2 district, depending on the scope of the task, what are the uses that we want, notwithstanding, I mean, with a recognition of what exists, and then adjust the permitted uses to state exactly what we want. And for those uses that are non-conforming, they're gonna be legally non-conforming, they'll be able to continue for as long as they like. But if you're coming in for a new use, you know, you're for example, have maybe it's an existing home or an existing retail, and you want to establish an office or a service, at that point, you'll have to come back before the board for a use variance. And that way, we have sort of a uniform approach to everybody, and we don't have to get into the weeds about trying to identify certain, trying to identify specifically for each house. It really ought to be a uniform approach, and then to the extent that folks have a special circumstance, that's why we have the zoning board.
So I just want to add Todd's point. Councilwoman Engelhardt pointed out last night that the master plan also has a recommendation to encourage the painted ladies that are offices or retail to go back to being single family homes. I don't know how we do that unless that's part of this, that it's not going to be an office like we're like the Hawk House, then it could be a single family home again. I do want to share with all of you that I was exploring incentives with our tax assessor on how to assist our businesses in, and not only our businesses, but the Victorian homes that they leave apartments in doing this, and I know that the council didn't know this when I told them 6 months ago. There's a residential abatement program on the books, on by ordinance in this town that is based on state law. That any resident doing capital improvements, like putting in a pool or redoing your kitchen or redoing a bathroom, can get up to $50,000 worth of work forgiven and frozen on your taxes for 5 years. So I put in a new kitchen, my house is assessed at $350,000. I put in a new kitchen that's worth $50,000. My house stays assessed at $350,000 for 5 years, other than the regular market increases. And at the end of 5 years, it drops off and I get hit with the new value. If I only do $20,000 worth of work, I can do another 30. You gotta get through that 5 years on whatever you do, and then you can do another 50. So you can it's revolving. That I knew. When I was talking to our tax assessor, he told me that we also have an ordinance on the books that nobody has used since 2018. It seems to have dropped off the radar screen, where our businesses can borrow or can get frozen and do an unlimited dollar amount of improvements. So they can come in, they can do $200,000 worth this year, and their taxes get frozen as if those improvements didn't happen for 5 years. But next year, if they want to do another 200, they can do another 200, and that'll get frozen for the next 5 years. So I immediately, when he told me that, and we went through it rigorously, I immediately called T-Berry's to let them know. I called Robin and had Robin call Aunt Millie's to let them know. And Robin is now spreading the word to all of the businesses, so that these guys that have been sitting on not doing an HVAC system or whatever know that any capital improvement like that really does an improvement to their building. So that can't be a replacement, but that their taxes will be frozen for 5 years as if it was, and I'm not sure what they have millions, that's a lot, right? It's a huge incentive for them to do that building. He is contacting his state, the state expert on this, who runs the division down in Trenton, to find out if there's something more we can do for the painted ladies. Like, can we forgive up to $100,000 per apartment? You have four apartments in a house, you're gonna remove 2 of them, maybe we can get them $200,000 in abatement, something like that. So he's checking it out.
Would it be a landlord, could they be considered a business and therefore?
Possibly. So Ed understood, the mission is to incentivize our residents to make the kinds of improvements that we would like to see in this town. And this is a huge thing for Main Street, because we have a lot of distressed buildings that the landlords don't have the money, to fix up. And I really need Robin to call the landlord owner of Turntable and let him know too, because. So
What is the, maybe we can fill us in next time on this, but is that, you mentioned those 2 businesses that are currently doing projects. what was the time limit from when you did the project that we could still apply? Is it done and it's current? Like, I'm just kind of like,
as he
if
says,
somebody did something within the last year, can they still apply?
if you've been taxed on the improvements, it's too late.
Oh,
So, but you can, as long as you just call him, he'll come over and see what's there and talk to you about what you're doing.
mm.
And,
So I'm thinking like Dolce, would that be covered?
yes, I think it may be too
Too
late.
late for that.
It's too late for Dolce probably. I really wish I had known this, but
Yeah.
like I said, it kind of got lost. When the last administration came in, I don't know if she knew, but she brought in a new SCP person who was called something else. Who didn't know there was no transfer from in that business, whatever. Robin didn't know because there was no transfer there. So it's like I said, it's kind of lost. And he said to me, nobody's applied. And I said, since COVID, he goes, no, since before COVID.
Right
So-
before COVID, we also having the opportunity zone designation. I think
That's
people
true,
were
too.
focusing more on the opportunity zone, because many of the opportunity zone programs. I'm not gonna say they were similar or dissimilar, they were like it.
Yes.
They were similar types of things there, that if you bought a property, I'm not even gonna cite what it was, because it was a lot. And then I think all of those have since dropped off.
Yes.
Most of them have dropped off.
Yeah.
Yes, I think.
So, yeah, so I'm really happy that this has been resurrected and Robin is in full knowledge and she's, reading the ordinance and we'll get more information from Ed about the Painted Ladies and those programs exist and we should be pushing, make sure you tell your clients, your business clients, because they should all be using it.
Yeah.
That's what it's there for.
Yeah,
So-
to encourage investment.
Did you know about it?
Did not. I was gonna look at the code tomorrow, unless you have a citation.
I don't, I should have asked Ed what it was, but I didn't.
Yeah.
I was my mouth was too, I was still
Yeah,
picking it up
yeah,
off,
back
still
up.
picking it up off the floor, because I thought I came up with something new and novel.
Yeah.
As an incentive for our business owners, and he said, you got it already, I was like, what?
Yeah, geez.
Excellent.
So. Okay, I'm done, thank you.
That's great news for homeowners and businesses, so we can get that moving, that'd be great. Item 3, council comments? You have anything?
I have no comments because that was the gist of the conversation.
That's all of us, okay. All right, so we are back on track on. We also carried item 7, Beth, the public hearing for the, so we carried that when you were out, so. Oh, professional report on the 5 no, do you have anything? Sorry,
Okay,
we'll get
jump in the gun.
do you have a professional report to give?
I don't have anything official, but I want to give a heads up to folks that, we had talked earlier in the year very briefly, essentially saying, hey, the state passed a new affordable housing law, or an updated affordable housing law, we're gonna talk about this. Time is coming to start talking about this.
Okay.
So we don't need to start now, but I want to put it on folks' radar. I want to put it on mayor's radar.
Oh, it's already on my radar.
And my recommendation is that we do a subcommittee
Okay.
to talk about how what it means for the borough, what potential next steps are going to be.
What's our deadline on?
We don't get our numbers until 2025, right?
CCA is scheduled to release numbers on October 20th of this year, and those are municipal obligations for every town. They are not binding, but the hope, the prayer, is that they are good, they are reliable, and that municipalities are comfortable citing them. Because by January 31st, 2025, municipalities governing body has to pass a binding resolution that says our affordable housing obligation is X.
What's the date?
January 31st, 2025. And so in a perfect world, DCA will issue these numbers, they'll be acceptable to municipalities as well as all the other parties. If they're not though, there's then a month-long period after January 31st for objections to the obligations municipalities cite. Those objections could come from citizens, developers, and affordable housing advocates. In any direction, number's too high, it's too low, whatever the perspective may be. Regardless of how that objection process goes, the municipality is obligated to submit an adopted housing element by June 30th of that year. And so the housing element has to be adopted by the planning board. It's not stated in the bill, but I think it also needs to be endorsed by the governing body. I think that's a very obvious conclusion. Because it's a municipal action ultimately to participate in the process. We don't have to adopt any ordinances, they can be done as drafts, so that's a small measure of flexibility in the schedule for us, but ultimately, in terms of deadlines, it's January 31st, we need to declare our number via adopted resolution, so that has implications on the timing, given that we need governing body quorum and adoption. You could do it in December if you wanted to. We should talk about the pros and cons of doing that. And then June 30th of 2025, we need an adopted housing plan.
Can you please work on a budget number for?
Yep.
Bill Hams for doing that housing.
Mhm.
Sooner the better.
Yeah, I'll send over a proposal.
Yeah,
for you guys to take a look at.
we don't wanna pass a budget in April or May and say, here's the money, better start working on it.
Yeah.
Right.
No, that's not gonna go well.
Yeah. All right, and we'll look at setting up a subcommittee at the next meeting.
Great.
Question, are we able to, we discuss an email moving number 9, switching number 9 to number 10?
Well, the only thing is, I'm thinking, being as Cara wants executive session, is it worth you staying? I know you were thinking
Style back there, and I can go outside, but.
What's that name is the use variance, so we're both accused, so.
Yeah.
Hmm.
They're actually an appeal first,
Yeah.
so
there's
you
been
could participate if,
in the appeal.
I'll defer to Ms. Kaczynski, but it's an appeal first, and if it's the appeal's denied, then a use variance.
Thank you.
They shouldn't take too long. That's fine.
Okay.
And it's just for completeness tonight.
I know,
Yeah,
well, it's up to you, how much you wanna recuse yourself, you have to,
yeah.
on anything.
So 8 and 9 shouldn't take too long, and we'll move straight on to that. We'll go to item 8. Is that all right, Beth? Have you finished with what?
Yes.
Thank you. So item 8 is completeness National Port and Spas, application 2024-06, lot 49, lot 1.01, design variance. Mr. Bloomberg?
Good evening, Stephen Gruenberg Law Office on behalf of the applicant National Pools. This is a sign variance application and we need C variance relief. We filed our application. Mr. Clerico had requested some additional information and we provided that information. And I think his recommendation is that the application be deemed complete. And we would ask that you do so we can have the public hearing.
Okay, well, Bob, can you confirm that? I think
Yeah, that's correct. There was, as I issued a memorandum the other day, there's some additional information that came in and that dealt with the items that were previously identified as being incomplete. What I noted, originally I recommended waiver of 2 items, but I don't know that the board ever met on this at all. So
We did not, Bob, so we'll
Alright,
have to
then you-
waive those tonight
you
as
have-
we
then you
deem
have
it
to waive
complete.
those.
Yep,
So your action tonight would be to accept the other items as addressing those deficiencies and waive what was listed as item L2 and L10.
I'll take that motion.
Okay, can I get a second for that, or does anybody have any discussion? A second?
I'll second, it's Bob, it's the L2 and L10 comment to waive.
Correct.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I'll second.
I'm deeming the application complete.
Yes.
Mayor Carroll,
Yes.
Mr. Cook,
Yes.
Councilwoman Fasaro. Yes. Mr. Campion,
Yes.
Ms. Giffen,
Yes.
Ms. Weitzman,
Yes.
Mr. Semino,
Yes.
Ms. Swingle,
Yes.
Mr. Show.
Yes.
Thank you.
All right, thank you.
Yes.
So item 9.
Oh,
Public hearing.
let's set a public hearing date if we can.
Hmm,
The
I'm loath
24th
to
is
do
gonna
the
be, it's only
24th
2
is
weeks.
busy. Yeah, we don't have time to notice for that.
I was assuming you would give me October 8th.
Okay, sounds like a good assumption to make.
And I'm hoping that it's probably going to be the same thing for the next one, but the next one is 110 Main Street LLC. For completeness. Would you like me to go on for that too?
Let's get past the vote and then we'll probably.
Oh, you need to vote on? Okay.
Yeah, we did kind of
We
need
did.
like discussion. No, the next one is talking about 110, we haven't used that.
Oh, no.
Oh, no, I meant to, do you want me to talk about it?
Oh, yeah, in a second. You want us to put it on the agenda?
No, not yet.
Let's just get a bit of
Yeah,
process first.
I'm not gonna put the cart before the horse that
Not
much.
quite, yeah. All right, so let's move on to item 9.
Sure.
Completeness, which is for 110 Main Street LLC, application 2024-07, lot 23, lot 1. Now, this comes to us as an appeal of a zoning officer's decision. So Cara, do we have to do something first before we can do completeness to say whether we believe, is that right?
No, this is, the application in and of itself is pursuant to section 70A of the land use law, so it would be reviewed for completeness the same way any other application would, pursuant to whatever we had in place at the time. Bob has done his best to do a completeness letter, and I think we're in good shape. But no, this would be scheduled for a hearing, and then the applicant would put on its proofs as to why the board should, or why he feels the board should overturn the zoning officer's determination.
Okay, thanks for the clarification.
Can I just ask that question, that order, let me know, but what the council introduced last night, would that clean up the interpretation issue?
Yeah, I think it would. It won't apply because the ordinance will be adopted afterwards.
Right, but
Yeah,
yeah,
it
you won't
would-
have this issue going forward again.
Yeah, I think so, because part of the challenge in many of the borough zoning ordinance is the level of detail expressed
By
in
SIC,
various uses.
by SIC codes.
And I am hoping that when we convene the subcommittee, those SIC codes will be eliminated, the zones that we're discussing, or at
Right.
least in regard to the uses that we're dealing with.
Got it.
Right into that committee work then. So we continue with this, Cara, as a standard completeness issue, so.
Correct.
So, Bob, you have a report for us on this one?
Yeah, very similar to the last one. We did a review back in August 11th. I don't think the board has ever met on this one at all. But we did a
No.
review back on August 11th. There was some deficiencies. There was one item we were recommending a waiver on. Subsequently, the applicant submitted additional documentation that would address those deficiencies, and we would just recommend a waiver on L2, which was really the submission of a sealed survey.
Okay. So, so we don't have the sealed survey, is that what we're saying right now? We don't have that right now? We'd have to do a waiver on that one?
Now, I'm suggesting you waive that.
Right, okay. So, does anybody feel comfortable?
Yeah, I'll move
I'll
that.
second it.
Okay, with the waiver for the L2?
Yes.
For L2, okay, can you call the roll, please, Emily?
Mr. Cook,
Yes.
Mayor Carroll.
Yes.
Councilwoman Pissarro,
Yes.
Mr. Campion,
Yes.
Ms. Giffen,
Yes.
Ms. Weitzman,
Yes.
Mr. Semino,
Yes.
Ms. Swingle,
Yes.
Mr. Show.
Yes.
Since I'm gonna be here on October
October
8th, I was kind of hoping we could do this one too.
Okay,
October, let's see, our meeting, oh yeah, right, the 24th is when. The 23rd, the council adopted, or did you write? Okay.
so we'll be doing that then. Okay, thank you. Right, let's move on to, item 10, which is a public hearing for Plaza One LLC application 2024-05, lot 43, lot 12. This needs a little, if I can have some.
Yes, this is a request for interpretation, and if the interpretation should be decided adversely to the applicant, a request for use variance, application for use variance. I do have a copy of the affidavit of service. I reviewed it, and service is proper, the board has jurisdiction to proceed. Thank you. So this time, we should pre-designate exhibits. Exhibit A would be the application and all supporting documentation. Exhibit B would be the affidavit of service with all attachments.
Oh, should I just note for the record that because Cara is conflicted on this one. Cara is, she is.
Yes.
She stepped out, she stand up. Just wanted to put it
7:43.
on the recording before you start.
Thank you. Stephen Gruenberg Law Office on behalf of the applicant Plaza One LLC. My client has a prospective tenant, Osprey Lane LLC. And they are going to have hopefully their management office in the first floor area of Plaza One. And the management office is, we contend is a permitted use in the zone. And the type of products or the type of activities that they're going to be doing on that site is consistent with the management office. We're requesting that interpretation in order for them to be able to lease this space. There's no proposal for any changes to the outside of the building. There's no proposal to any real changes to the inside of the building. There's no movement of walls or anything. It's going to be used as an office, managing the businesses, and taking in some of the product on a minor basis for photographing and steaming of the clothes before they go to the respective sites. I have the prospective tenant for Osprey Lane LLC here to provide testimony in support of the application and tell you exactly what's going to go on site. And if we could have them sworn in, that would be great.
Okay.
Please raise your right hand. Solemnly swear the testimony you'll give in this matter will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God.
I do.
Could you please state your name and spell your last name for the record?
Certainly. Glenn Veronic, Vraniak.
Why don't you take a seat next?
Yes, sir.
I'm just checking our camera situation, because I have other people on the view, but we don't seem to have Mr.
Maybe not have done that. How do I do that again?
Should be able to just put the video on.
It's the.
Did you have like any exhibits?
I do.
I'll
think I need to do
promote
this
you to
first, right?
panelist.
Yeah, I think that's what needs to be promoting. me.
Yeah, and then that's then there is camera on the computer that can show it. I'm just thinking for the record, we have some people in show, right?
Turn the video on. There we are.
Beautiful.
Maybe not beautiful, but. It was like- That's right. All right. So, Mr. Brandon, why don't you tell the board what your position is with Osprey Lane LLC?
Yeah, my wife and I own a clothing boutique that is currently operating retail in Somerville, New Jersey, right on Main Street. We are looking to expand into other territories, other areas. We also have just signed a lease in Somerville also for a home goods store that will be called the Osprey Nest. So a little advertisement there that's coming later this year. And so what we're looking for is a place to, currently our management offices are in our home. And so we're looking for a place to have our management, finance, accounting, all of the work that's done with the general ledger, loading product into the back end system for, website, getting the products photographed, and then prepped to move out to the stores from that central location right there at Plaza One.
So you're not going to be shipping any product from this location for sales orders or anything like that?
No,
correct?
no, everything for sales orders that come in from web orders and local customer orders or regional customer orders, all of those get done from the store level. So those are customers of the store itself, and so everything is controlled there.
How many employees do you anticipate having on site?
I would love to see a lot, but I think we're looking now at somewhere between 2 and 5 when we're all said and done, but right now it's 2.
Okay, and those 2 are you and your wife?
No, it would be me and one of our clerks that would help with tying the product into the operating system of the, inventory. And then also performing some of the other management services relative to product load and dissemination.
I have a 4-page packet that we'd like to submit to the board with the 3 photographs of the site and then the floor plan. And if we can mark the packet as exhibit A1, exhibit C, that would be great.
And those are photographs?
3 photographs and a floor plan. And I can put them on screen recently. I can figure out how to do that.
Yep, I'm not.
In there too. You did, yeah. I think I have to share the screen though, don't I?
Yes.
Almost. do. Yeah, I get the fact that that part. This is the Plaza One building, correct? The front entrance of the Plaza One, that's the first photograph,
Yes,
and you're going to be located in the office space, correct?
right in through the office, main door and to the left, yes, on floor 1.
That'd be a better way of doing it. I think I've had better this one. Yes, I think we are. Is that showing, that photograph showing?
Not yet,
No, it's
I
just
need
the-
to. I would do every line. I would say double click, but it's not. I think it's just like stick myself, everything's twice, so what do you look at double click? Now you only have to click once, right? And let's try, I double click. And I'll say, I got two instances.
Oh, there it is. Yes, and which picture you want to stop?
That's it.
And that's the front entrance that people walk into to get to the office, correct? Right. Yeah. And the third, that is the interior lobby and the door to the office where you're gonna be located, correct?
Correct.
That's on the first floor of the office portion of Plaza.
Yes, that's correct.
And last will be the floor plan.
It's just one.
Little for them.
We just do.
That's what we just did when it's.
Now,
the
PDF.
PDF.
We've got our IT expert with them.
Yeah, I don't know about that.
It's, it's wanting to do it as an Adobe Acrobat. It says create a PDF, convert images and files to PDF. It says the reader is there. It should be free. Next has that PC. Recent, that's the recent one, right? Yeah. You go to menu at the very top, these are all mine, like recent. Right. If you go to the top right hand, left hand corner, sorry, that's the recent menu. You open it from there. And then I don't know where it's located. It's on this left side. Okay. But it's not there when you're looking on it. Maybe because it's. Yeah, go ahead and drop down. That you want drop there. It's like it's not on the computer or something. Like, what do you have from here's something like Adobe. You know who made it? I think I created the original PowerPoint, but maybe you guys created a PDF. Is it just an image? It's just it's drawing. This drawing. See, you can open up the option paint. That with that, right? We're gonna try to see if we can just do open web. So just get off the web page. Just try open web and then so I'm gonna choose another.
I mean, all this stuff is not yet very far.
You know what, we're gonna hold up the
I was gonna say that would be our alternate, hold it in front of you, so it's on the regular.
Sorry.
Yeah, that's okay, it happens. Technology, huh?
Where my Zoom is sitting, it's
Sometimes when you come over, when you remember if somebody else had a problem where they didn't have, we didn't have.
I think
a
I
program
might be
on
locked
here, so we couldn't have it up.
trying to open up the table.
Yeah. Usually that's my go-to. Usually painted like coverall.
That's.
All right, I think, will that work for the record? At least hold it up for a minute.
Is that okay?
Yeah, I think we can.
Dennis, can you understand that?
Can you read that?
I had seen it when it went out earlier, but yeah.
Sure, it's there. for
There you
visible.
go, Steve, right there, yeah.
Hold it there.
You keep it there, that'll
Keep it
be.
there for like 30 seconds minimum.
Right.
People can always put quickly in
Or take a picture.
or take a picture. All right, now I want to see your face. I think that's.
Okay,
Thank you. We made it work.
but can you go over the floor plan, tell the board exactly what's going on in the room there?
Yeah, I think first and foremost, this is the existing layout of the office. There are no changes to walls or movement of anything except some fresh carpet and something. So we set it up just to essentially create a meeting room where we could have a conference room, a couple of offices for desks and computers, and a place for an administrative individual who would sit out in the front there by the front desk and by the lobby, and then just some open area for some photography if we need to, perform that twice a year. We do a lot of photography for the website for fall and winter line, for spring and summer. And we also run a big fashion show every year, so we do some preparation for garments for the fashion show as well. And then so that's what the bigger area in the most far right section of the drawing is for. And then tagging and if we do some steaming there, some products need that, others don't. It's just in preparation for sending it out to the retail stores for putting on the floor to sell to customers. So that's essentially, we got a bathroom and a records room in the back, so we can store our tax documents and all the fun things that you have to do when you're in finance and accounting.
So the HR district permits a variety of commercial uses, and it actually permits apparel and accessories store, but we're not actually being a store, although we are at that type of business.
In the continuum of things recurring,
And it allows for offices for finance, insurance, and real estate services. But most importantly, it allows for different types of office, including management. And that would be under number 34. And we consider that this would be, this use is consistent with that interpretation of the ordinance. And this type of use is the management of this type of business and the management office. And I think Ms. McMahon has agreed with that the proposed management office in page 2 of her report said the proposed management office can be considered under permitted use 34 for the management services are directly referenced. Her office does not find the minor processing of clothing such as steaming is not in conflict with the permitted management office or apparel store. So we believe that that's the correct interpretation of the zoning ordinance that would allow this type of use to be permitted. And it's consistent with the office use that Plaza One already has in it. We're not the retail component, which is the other part of the building. We're in the office part.
And were you, is this gained by our zoning officer because of the steaming and the ironing, or because it's not retail? I mean,
We don't know.
okay,
We did apply for a zoning permit and it said denied, not permitted use.
but you didn't say what.
Yeah, so, we really don't know why, but, in order to move this matter forward, in order to be able to get this tenant and their business going, we needed to file for this interpretation.
Before I ask a question, John, do we need to, the report by Ben that was just referenced, do we need to mark that as an exhibit?
Do you usually want your? Professional report,
Usually,
okay, we'll
it
mark
was a
that.
professional report because it becomes part of the whole.
Okay, so part of it, so the report of Planner McManus, what's the date?
It is. It's August 9th.
Thank you. And that's exhibit D.
So, question for you, sir, I'm trying to get to the bottom of maybe why this was denied, I'm trying to understand this. So, can I ask a question on, you've said about the product coming in and out. How much product, say, you've mentioned totes in here, so maybe if you can reference, like, how many totes, and how often would that process be happening? Is it going to be happening weekly, or is it seasonally, or what?
it
Would you explain
tends to
that
be
me?
seasonal. The predominance of the product that's inbound flowing tends to be very seasonal. And it's usually the spring, summer line that comes in, and then the fall and winter line that get, procured through our buying routines in various parts of the country. And most of the product will come here, particularly if it's set for going onto the website. So we have the retail, we actually have 3 channels of sales. We have the website, we have a mobile boutique, which is how we started back in 2021. Where we went to festivals and pop-up events and stuff like that, and she curated product that would work in those types of locations. And then we also have, the retail stores. And so the product is designated for certain locations at certain times. And so it's all set up through our management strategy of when this product hits the door, here's the life cycle of that product through our channels. And then, so that's all done here, or we'd like this to be done here. Some product will be shipped directly to the stores, where we know it doesn't need any, special care. It can be tagged at the store. So it just depends on, or if it's something that's not ready for the store yet, it's got to wait 3 weeks or 4 weeks, then we have it go there so we could work on it there and then move it out to the store. And it moves in these, almost like a tote you would get at Target, one of these plastic totes.
But then can you guesstimate, because
Yes.
I know it must change weekly or whatever, see. How much movement is happening, how much product is moving on a weekly basis, say, are there going to be, I guess, maybe. Are there going to be trucks coming daily with
No,
products?
I mean, everything comes in standard UPS. There's no special trucks or anything like that. Everything leaves either in our mobile boutique or in my pickup truck. We have a pickup truck for the business that we use to move racks and products and stuff like that to
And
different
will you
events.
be intending to park those vehicles in the parking lot?
So the truck will be there very infrequently. It's only when there's movement that has to occur. And I don't expect that to be every week. And it would only be kind of an in and out. It wouldn't be there for, a long period of time for sure. Secondly, there is the mobile boutique. We've asked as part of the lease that we have a spot in the back behind the building, in the corner, where we could, make the mobile boutique stay there, and then we can do some of the movement right to the mobile boutique from there. So.
Right.
So I would expect that, so I'm a finance guy, so I'm sorry, but the business does about $500,000 a year. And approximately about $250,000 worth of product is coming in two big sort of boluses, one in the beginning of the year and one kind of, right before the fall. And so that's roughly, if I could say the size, how many totes does that represent? Maybe 30, 50, maybe something like that.
I'm just trying to grasp an understanding of
Yes,
why this,
yeah.
why this was seen as not just a management office or what
Yes,
might been going on.
yes.
That might have been in.
Yes, and anything that doesn't, out of that doesn't get shipped to the stores, that product would go, that product comes here, everything else would go directly to the store. So I would say about a third of the product goes directly to the stores.
So does anybody else have any questions?
And one other thing that I wanted the board to know too, the other location that we're renting, in Somerville does have a storage. So that will be our predominant, storage area for anything for the boutique and for the home goods store. So we do have space there to do that. In the back of the retail center there.
I think I get a better picture of what's happening.
Okay.
I'm gonna start with Todd, simply because on the days, because.
Well, it's really a question for Beth. When I look at our permitted uses in the HR district, that catch-all of 34, engineering, surveying, architectural, accounting, you can all read it. It's just as the case of, it's like SIC codes gone awry, where it was not thought of that a retail space also has a management office. Or if you were to say, I'm just asking so I can understand it better on similar services 87. So if I have a management office for Burger King, it's not a food store, but it's the management office for foods, that would be the same. That would not be allowed under our code unless it fell into similar services 87.
So I do think that's generally correct. So I think that the challenge here is the borough has these very specific SIC codes, which are hard to interpret, and the definitions of the terms are not in the borough code, they're elsewhere in ether, where SIC codes are homed. And so if you look at SIC code 87, which is what's referenced for that item in my report, it talks about engineering, accounting, research management, and related services, includes establishments primarily engaged in engineering, architectural, surveying services, but also accounting, auditing, bookkeeping, research development, testing, and management and public relations services. So I think I think SIC code 87 is general management and what some of us might think of as sort of a general or a professional office. And so that's why I had indicated, I think if the board's inclined, you could find that the sort of the management office for the multiple stores that they have throughout the few counties here qualifies as a management office under the term management, but also under accounting, bookkeeping services, and the like.
Thank you.
Anybody else on the board have any questions? From here, Brian? All right, any of our members, we have quite a few members online today. So Dennis, you're shaking your head. I'm guessing that's.
Don't have any questions. Thank you.
Thanks. Hannah, do you have anything?
Not questions. So I used to manage a retail store it was my family store. So I'm pretty familiar with kind of the concept that you're going through. And I think it's unique that you have this it's not quite a warehouse, but you're utilizing it in the sense that you're creating your online presence a lot of time and everything else. I'm just curious about like the workflow of it. Like how long does it take for you to go through all of your product with steaming? Like how long are you gonna have the product in your store or in I guess this management office? And then is it really is it just that one entrance, that front entrance that you'll just be bringing racks in and out of essentially, or?
Yeah, I don't anticipate we'll be taking racks in and out, but.
Yeah,
It'll be the more totes.
okay,
Has to maintain, clean product and all that. We
right,
kind of roll it through doorways because you pick up, a lot of.
Okay. Yes, right.
But the workflow is pretty straightforward. I mean,
Okay.
aside from, accounting and finance and, somebody who's taking product codes and loading those, loading the purchase orders and all that sort of stuff.
Yeah.
Into our back end, Shopify system is what it is.
Right.
That
Yeah,
manages
that's what we're used to, yeah.
on. And then it's just a question of like, one or 2 days, twice a year, we do.
Yeah.
So bring a photographer in, professional photographer, we run through all the products, we have models there that.
Yeah, I was kind of curious if you had models or not, or if you're using something, yeah.
Staff too,
Mhm.
which is convenient, but, so
Yeah.
we do that, and probably only about 30% of the product, is filmed by us.
Right.
70% we get from the manufacturer.
Yeah, manufacturers, yeah.
Sleazy looking or something that's off.
Yes, yeah.
Basically, the product will come in, it will get, loaded up in the system, it'll get photographed, and then it's out. Yeah.
Okay.
And, there's some products can come in really wrinkled, and we do a quick steam, it literally is a steamer, you probably.
Right, yes, yeah.
Same concept there, and nothing fancy, just a standard steamer that has a water in a container and.
Right.
So it's pretty straightforward, so it's in the app really quickly.
Okay, awesome. Okay, yeah, I just wanted kind of that clarification from what were kind of your idea of how it went, so
Yeah,
thank you.
and then the rest is just, literally, accounting, tax work, all the stuff that goes with, sort of the back end of the business.
Right, and you'll be, so when you're done steaming, you'll be utilizing like the mobile truck or your truck to bring it back to your stores, or is that something?
That's
Okay,
correct.
okay. And UPS will be coming to you at the warehouse here, or is it,
Well, it's not a
or
warehouse.
sorry, not warehouse, sorry, management, sorry.
And UPS will they do all the shipments, and, usually in the spring, summer, season, and then the fall.
Yeah.
You'll see like, several days of, 10 to 15 boxes,
Yes,
When they're
yeah,
small boxes, you can actually, they're not huge.
no, right,
Yeah, and then we just unpack them and move along. So,
okay, great, thank you.
We have 5 days to check for damages, you probably remember that.
Yeah, that fun aspect. We were good friends with our UPS driver, so he was pretty cool with us, so.
Exactly.
Right, that, all your questions, Hannah? Mike, do you have any questions for this witness?
I'm good, thank you.
Okay, and Melissa?
I'm good. My questions were actually answered
Oh,
already.
okay, so I guess my question then is for John. Is as regards the board having a discussion, are we discussing whether, our first question would be, do we consider that this is an incorrect interpretation by the.
Well, it's not an appeal, the board is
denial?
looking. Taking a new view of this, it's not an appeal from a zoning decision, the board is looking at the ordinance and saying. Are the provisions of the ordinance, do they permit this type of use?
I thought it, sorry, I thought it was an appeal.
This one technically
denied.
isn't an appeal of the zoning officer's
denied.
denial. He
Yeah.
did do a denial. You can skin his cat 2 different ways.
Right, I'm just
You
trying to work
can
out.
file an appeal of the zoning officer's denial, or you can present this information to the board to interpret your zoning ordinance as to whether the board find that this use falls within the permitted use of a management office.
Right.
It has the effect of appealing the zoning officer, but it's a separate interpretation. You know,
So does that mean, sorry, just gonna finish this thought, so then does that mean, John, that if we say, yes, our interpretation is that the zoning should not have been denied, does that then mean we are acting as zoning officer and give the zone that acceptance of it, or are we acting in a different way?
Well, no, then, if the board should decide this is a permitted use, the resolution, the findings would be then presented to the zoning officer who, would then be in a position to give out the zoning.
So
permit.
then he would issue the thing based on, we would be sending a recommendation to the zoning officer, basically.
Yes. It's not really a recommendation, it's your interpretation of the ordinance, which you're empowered to do under the municipal land use law.
So, Beth, my question is, I mean, this is an office building. It has always been an office building. I don't even think they have a window, that space, right? It's not appropriate for like retail use, but if we say, yeah, this interpretation by our zoning officer was incorrect and it's an approved use, does that mean everything in that strip mall can then become a management office?
But this is
It's not in the strip.
just, doing on a case-by-case presentation, it's not setting, it's not a blanket coverage. Just basically for this particular use as described before the board, does it fit into this ordinance? as
But then
permitted use?
it's not a case by case basis, then no,
Because I
you're
think-
wrong, I'm sorry.
But I think if, let's say we had a new tenant come in and he owned stores in a couple towns that sold like kitchen items, pots and spatulas and whatnot. And they need an office to handle the management of the stores, do some photography, do the websites, things like that. In a different tenant space, wouldn't the zoning officer be obligated to issue them a zoning permit for that use?
Based upon, if you look at a certain type of generic use, a certain type of situation, usually an applicant can rely on past findings of the board. So if a board consistently interprets the ordinance in a certain way, that can certainly be used as a.
That's my concern, is all the other spaces in that strip mall, most of them are retail spaces, you've got, you got all kinds of stores in there, and then the next strip mall down, you got all kinds of stores in there, and it's very different than the Plaza One office building, which is an office building, and I'm concerned that, I don't have a problem with this business being on the first floor in this office building, because it is an office use. Clear as day, but then I got a problem with the other stores in that strip. Now going from retail use or whatever they are, to something else. I mean, there's a salon in there, there's a political headquarters in there, there used to be, the DOT had an office in there. Trying to remember if there was a restaurant in there at one point, I mean, there was a restaurant in there at some point. So, that's my concern, is by doing this,
But I
what are we doing to what we wanted?
I think that I would recommend this be looked at more narrowly, and if there's a concern about the proliferation of offices along the 202 or 31 corridor, then that should really be a change to the HR district, because regardless of this specific interpretation, the HR district permits a variety of non-retail restaurant uses. And so I think the concern is really about the types of permitted uses in that district, like perhaps the entirety of this number 87, the engineering, accounting, blah, 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 offices, maybe that whole thing should be repealed if the borough wants to try to encourage.
I don't know, I mean, personally, I guess I'd rather have them in this strip mall than have them on Main Street, on the first floor of Main Street.
Correct.
Cause you can't walk there, you can drive over there and then walk down the strip, so. I guess maybe it is a better use to have that over there than it is, encourage people.
Can I clarify from this photo, because I know I'm a little confused now, and I want to make other people up, but from the exhibit C, the first photo. Your block that you're planning to use is not one of the ones that has an open storefront on the
Correct.
front here, is that correct?
Correct.
So it's one of the other units within this building.
It's
Correct.
within the office section.
Within the,
of-
so it's
of
within,
the-
this is the tower here, and it's within this part,
This is
there are offices up here, but these are the other retail.
So
spaces.
your concern is that if we say this is included then?
I think I'm actually less concerned than I thought I was, because I would rather see them all.
I do have
Right,
a
and
follow-up
then so-
question though.
So just one, sorry Ted, I will get to you, one follow-up point from that is then it could, Beth, our, and John, our recommendation to the zoning officer be that this is an accepted use because it's not in one of the, but it wouldn't be in one of the storefronts.
No.
That-
Yeah, I
you can't
can't
say
do
that.
that.
I'm just, that's where.
That's why I asked the question, so
Right,
I think I'm okay, like I said, I would rather see all the offices on Main Street. On first floors that are currently in retail, like the financial guy and, you know, barbershop or whatever, go out there. Than take up true retail space on Main Street where we want walkers and, you know.
Right. You're treating this slightly
Right,
differently.
yeah, I think
Good point, good point.
I'm missing because all of those spaces that are retail now could tomorrow become an office for finance, insurance, real estate,
Right.
engineers. It's already in our ordinance
Right.
that we allow non-retail in the HR zone. It's a whole nother story, right? That's what you say, a whole nother kind, this is not what we were talking about on Main Street. This is the HR district that we're, I believe the zoning officer cannot make a real interpretation. He's pretty black and white, as most zoning officers are. And when somebody comes in and says, I have a retail management office, we don't have a code for retail management office. If he said, by the way, I am a public I got a public relations check. So I look at it as, has nothing to do with the other stores in that center, because the other stores or storefronts in that center could tomorrow become non-retail based on the way our ordinances are written.
Yeah.
So it's not really setting precedents, it's more like saying his office use wasn't specifically written down in 1996 or whenever we did these codes. Because retail offices, I mean, coming from a retail background, we have hundreds of offices around the world like this. We are a retail, well, not we, company I work for was a retailer, but we had offices. We had offices in every state, everywhere. So it's really more of an interpretation that says, you know what? Retail office, which is not listed anywhere here. Wait, I don't know, you can't come in with a retail office, and the word retail doesn't even come up anywhere. That's the
Yeah.
interpretation.
And this interpretation is so narrow, because it's really a very specific use. I'm sure, I believe that there are these uses all over the place, but I've never talked to somebody that needed an office space just for that. The likelihood of this specific use proliferating, I think is pretty low, especially given the other offices that are already permitted in the district. So if there's a concern about office in the HR district, I would say let's just stash that in our mind for future ordinance discussions. But
Right.
I don't think it's relevant to this particular interpretation.
And so to Todd's point, if if an applicant came in and said, I have a management office for my company, I want to use this for, they would have just that. I'm just trying to work out what triggered the denial, like, because we've said that.
It's not,
covered.
it's not clear because
Right.
the zoning officer didn't cite anything specific other than it's simply not permitted in the district. Look, so was it not permitted because he views this as a retail management office and those terms are specifically not listed in the list of uses? Is it because he didn't think, is it because he drilled down in all the SIC codes and that was his interpretation? It's just not, there's really no.
Right, because I don't want to feel like I'm undermining. He makes these decisions day by day and he does a great job with it, so I'm just trying to work out, so I can understand where.
But I will say,
To change it.
you know, the municipal land use law sort of rolls out the red carpet for this type of a process, knowing that zoning officers are doing their best to make interpretations and, you know, if applicants need a place to go and seek, it's not appeal, but seek it, but seek guidance, seek assistance from a board. And so this is exactly what the way the process is supposed to work. The zoning officer is supposed to take a narrow view of exactly what's permitted. And then it's the zoning board function of your planning board that is supposed to identify deviations that are permitted in the form of D variances, to overturn, like directly overturn what the zoning officer had done if you think that they made an erroneous decision, or to offer an interpretation that may or may not be different than what they had done.
So the fact that like for me, I feel like this is a more appropriate place for this business to be than on Main Street. It's okay to say, yeah, this interpretation's okay, and then if he did something similar on Main Street,
Right.
We
to
don't.
saying, oh yeah, an office is whatever, then it's okay to say, no, we don't want that there.
But if the one thing, and I can look it up, but if this SIC code 87 is listed for the TV district, and tomorrow another use that is exactly like this comes in, after this interpretation, the zoning officer is gonna be obligated to say yes, because the interpretation of the board is that this particular use includes retail management offices.
Okay.
And it's gotta be uniform. And it's sort of a problem that I think we're getting ready to eliminate the possibility of, given earlier discussion, but once the interpretation is done in one district, if that same language applies to.
But the interpretation allows us to funnel businesses, whatever they are, where we think they're appropriate.
The zoning law, is that, I'm sorry?
Well, the way that Pat has been sending us so much to interpret.
Yeah, I mean, your zoning code is very specific with the
Yes.
SIC codes, and his perspective is not incorrect, but he sees his role as,
Right.
interpreting exactly what is permitted against the exact definition compared to exactly what is
Right,
proposed.
so like I said, I mean, if this was a Main Street application and he said. No, it's not allowed on Main Street, cause it's whatever, and we were like, okay, well, we really want real retail. And they're not having it like a store, an Osprey store. We could say, yeah, we're gonna agree with Pat, cause we don't want this management thing on the first floor,
Yeah, I guess.
because
can
that's
we
a
do
different
that?
district, it's a different district.
But if the same
87.
use is permitted, if you pick up that SIC code 87 from the HR district. And if the same question with the same use is asked in the DB district, the decision needs to be the same. Because the interpretation is not based on context of, in this case, the interpretation is not based on context of the area, it is exactly what is permitted by this use, period.
It's really apples to oranges looking at Main Street to this district, because this district right now, both districts allow this use on the first floor. So it's really changing Main Street for Main Street and HR for HR.
Right.
So I wouldn't get too far ahead. This is saying that a retail office, I look at it this way, we're being asked, is a retail management office the same as a management office?
Right.
That's all we're being asked. It's a little bit, to me, and again, it sounds like apples to oranges, but it's easier for me to interpret it as. There was a time we did not allow brew pubs, because that word did not exist in our language, and it was asked of us. Do you think brew pubs like a distiller? We're like, yeah, it's a brew pub. We had to add those words, and then we had to say the brew pub, by the way, is a distillery. So I look at it, this is not saying what we want on Main Street or what we want in the HR zone. This is saying wherever we allow engineering, surveying, architecture, all research, development, management, PR, and similar services. This is a similar service that Pat can't say on his own, it's a retail. You don't have that in there.
And so, and for future applications that may come in or interpretation, then it sounds like the committee that have just been set up to look at this needs to feed this kind of idea into that. It's a really apropos moment to have brought this up to help us with that. And that can be looked at for the other zones in consideration of any decision we make. So having said that, we don't have, if we will do a request, an interpretation that we believe this is allowable in this zone, we want to allow this application case to go through, we don't have to go to a D1 variance meeting, it stops and we can do that. Okay, so, we've had a little bit of discussion already. Does anybody feel,
You wanna hear my stellar legal?
Well, does any open up in public?
oh, sorry, I thought we were, I thought you're wind up, but please take the floor.
My stellar legal argument is I think Mr. Cook's analysis is entirely what the board's focus should be. And it is whether this proposed retail management office falls within that category. And I think the interpretation is yes, it does. And we would ask that you make that interpretation and confirm it and have the resolution so that my client can get these really exciting product and exciting business into the borough, and hopefully maybe they'll open up a retail store in the borough too. Which I
We're always looking for good places to open.
But it's a good step.
Okay, thank you. Is that,
That's it.
so I guess, are we, then you're looking for?
Yeah, see if, do any, is there any members of the public that have any comments?
Oh, thank you. What, good catch. Got about the public. There is, oh, Dennis had his hand raised too. One of our members of our board.
Yeah, I just request that if the zoning officer is gonna deny something going forward, can they at least put why? I mean, the applicant doesn't even know why it was denied, and I think it's just helpful why, and it's not, it's just that they answer why. I think that would help us when it comes to us, what the rationale was.
He did answer, he said it's not permitted use, that was his interpretation.
See, there's also a rule of thumb, which is actually cited in, Cox, it says the zoning officer has to use his discretion. And if there's any doubt, he should deny the permit. The doubt is to
Right, there you go.
deny.
So you took that route.
He took that route, but he did put that in the denial, right? There's
said
not permitted use.
Denied not a permitted use.
Yeah, so there's a
It's-
reason why, that was his reason, yeah.
I'm
You
gonna
can disagree with him, you can disagree with him, but that was his.
It would be nice if there had been some further analysis of it other than not a permitted use to and allow the applicant to engage in some type of dialogue on the issue other than deny not a permitted use. But that's why we're here.
Right, and he has his job to do, and he does it as he sees fit, and he interprets it like he says. So I'm not going to question his process. We're going to start, yeah, okay, so our motion that I'm looking for, John, is that correct?
No other members of the public have any comment?
Need to
Close the public.
Oh, we need to close. the-
I'll move that we close the
Close the
public
public
hearing.
hearing.
Yeah, I'll second it.
All
All in
right,
favor?
can we pull the roll on closing the public hearing?
We just do all of it.
We do that? Oh, okay, all in favor of closing the public hearing? Aye. Aye, anybody? Extend to that? No, I don't see any. Okay, thank you. So then, John.
If the board is inclined, to, approve this application, we basically, the board has interpreted that the proposed use, has interpreted this ordinance, that the proposed use as described by the applicant is permitted use in the zone.
Right, and then does that then form the zoning, does that then, and
That would be a memorialization as to how the board viewed the ordinance, and then it could be brought to the zoning officer.
okay. Would anybody like to move what John said or add anything to the proposed motion? We can't do it.
No, I'll move that, but what he said.
What John said, I would second that.
Thank you. And we call the roll for a vote, and a yes vote this would allow say that this is a permitted use and allow.
That's correct.
It would say that a retail office is similar office to a management office.
Thank you.
Mr. Cook?
Yes.
Mr. Semino?
Yes.
Mayor Carroll?
Yes.
Councilwoman Fasaro?
Yes.
Mr. Campion?
Yes.
Ms. Giffen?
Yes,
Weitzman?
Yes.
Ms. Swingle?
Yes.
And Mr. Show?
Yes.
Thank you all very much.
Thank you.
welcome to the borough.
See you next month, and I remembered my contract.
Excellent. And now we're off again. Okay. Thank you very much.
Take care, thank you very much. I really
Right.
appreciate it.
All right, yeah, that was an interesting one.
Yeah.
All right, so item 11, chair items. Why did I write the MDO ordinance? What that was on the, yeah. All right, so the next meeting is September the 24th. We currently have completeness of, it's another, this is another appeal, isn't it?
Yes.
Of a zoning officer for, it's not, it's 110, isn't it 110 Main Street, that one? No, that's 111. 111 Main Street, that is that one. That will be coming to us for completeness. And the, Liberty Village. Oh, we have Cara back.
Yes.
And Mr. Galena has, and then we also have, which should be a quick one, the completeness, and then we have Liberty Village, public hearing.
Well, no, that's completeness.
Oh, that's
Oh.
completeness. Oh,
Yeah, that
I
would be
was confused by
completeness as
the-
well, not public hearing yet. I mean, that is pending. I have a couple of emails out to them. I had no checks for the application for escrow fees
For
For Liberty
for Liberty Village.
What are you
So,
requiring?
it would be per the ordinance, so they usually have a calculation that would be provided and then that would be reviewed by Bob.
Right.
But I did say that it would be considered administratively incomplete until we find if we
Absolutely.
get checks. So, the sooner they get them in there, I don't know how the board feels, even, having them review something when we don't have any escrow.
You know, I just like looked at all your mail today and you just chased so much money
I chase it all.
and
It's-
I don't think that's right. I don't think we should be hiring anybody unless they put money up front and enough to cover.
Well, there's
I really
enough,
don't.
well, our fee schedule, I would like to have the board review as well.
Yeah,
Cause it's outdated, I mean,
yeah.
$700 for and $500 for a variance, $750 for a use variance goes very quickly. I mean, completeness blows that away, and then I'm always, there, per the law, I can only ask for a certain amount to replenish.
Right.
But if the invoices come in, but the invoices don't come for a month, and so I'm always in that limbo.
Is there a way that from, and I know this is a little bit of work, but the previous applications that have gone through different types, is there a way to pull together what actually got spent on each one? And
Absolutely.
then that can
Actually, it's
inform that
really not that-
decision,
That much.
that we can show how.
I can
different
give
it
you the
is.
escrow statements from, the various different types of
Yes.
applications. And shows exactly what the
That will
costs
help
are.
that discussion.
I mean, each one is so unique and individual that
Right,
it's,
we can get a mean of them, to see how far away they are from the current listing, and that can help that discussion, and we can pull that together. Thank you.
thank you.
So there's less next week.
Yeah, that was gonna be my question. Should I, given the situation with Liberty Village, should I even be reviewing that?
Oh, not until we get escrow, I think that's the thing, I'm reminded, till they give us money, the money that they need to give us.
Well, that's,
All right,
if-
then let's,
if
We
let's,
don't want to expend time that we might not get paid
Let-
back.
let's not list them then for the September meeting then.
yeah,
And Eileen is gonna ask you anyway, the other one for the 111 Main Street, did they file a checklist with that?
not that I know of, no, the only thing that came in is what was
How about
was
if I-
sent to you.
How about if I send George Malone a text tomorrow telling him that unless we get the escrow funds immediately, it's not gonna be on the agenda for September 24th. And he's got like until what date, when do you need to actually have that?
Well,
done?
Bob is gonna be the one that's
Oh,
gonna be
regarding
Yeah,
reviewing.
there's a lot there to look at, and even if you told me tonight, go ahead and review it, I'll have you something for your next meeting in September, but if we're gonna wait to the end of this week and go into next week, it's gonna be a little tough.
Okay, so
And
that's,
you have, what do you have, Kara, 45 days or something, I think, to deem it complete, so it's not, I don't know, you have to do it at your September meeting.
Oh, and without checks, we can call it administratively incomplete. Stop it.
100%, 100%. I mean, you don't even have to review it to know that everything has not been satisfied because the fees have not been paid.
well, then I'll send him a text saying, although you submitted all of your documents, you still have the escrow check and therefore we're not authorizing our professionals to do any reviews because we're not.
Right,
That's
mean,
all, I'll let him
it's-
know, I might light a fire under him because he really is anxious to get this caught. So,
Yeah, and then let's just keep track of that 45 days. So if we just have to send out something, Eileen, you know, email wise or whatever, just saying you've been, like you said, deemed administratively incomplete just because we don't have fees, then at least we know we've done that.
I did send out something today. I thought.
Perfect.
Kara, I will forward that to you.
You know what? I'm sure it's there. It's been one of those days, so if I don't have it, I'll let you know, but I'm sure you sent it.
And we usually
I
like,
sent a lot of escrow out today, so I'll definitely double check.
we usually like to give our professionals at least 10 days, right? That was usually our, isn't that our?
this is a big one.
So I know.
3 weeks
3 weeks,
for
we say, so
to
really,
put on the schedule.
even asking Bob to do it in 2 weeks is a lot, right?
So are we talking the October 8th meeting? Do you want to bring us in the money?
Yeah, I mean, if we want
To
to
start
be, if we want to be
to do completely?
serious about this now, then we have to.
So,
Although we don't cite 3 weeks as a, I thought we did cite 10 days.
I thought 10.
No, 10 days is for the MLUL for any supplemental documents to be submitted if the board deems that that's appropriate for the application. 10 days really doesn't give anybody.
so the fair thing for me to write to George
It would be the
is,
Friday before this, a Tuesday, and
our engineer needs 3 weeks to review your documents.
Mm-hmm.
So,
well, the size of that, yeah.
Because-
Didn't we put that on the top of the checklist? Because
Yeah, I
I
thought we
remember
did.
us even talking about putting 45 because that's what the MLUL allows.
no, but just, I mean, just to give George a heads up that he
Yeah.
needs weeks. So we're looking at the October 8th meeting if he gets a check-in the next couple of days. If he doesn't, then it's pushing it out to October. Whatever.
Yeah, I sent this out at
Whatever.
4:40 and I did copy Bob, Beth, Jay and Kara, so.
Yeah, if
What
we're
is-
gonna get,
what is
the
it?
important thing is
What
that,
did it say?
Oh, for what I sent, is that I did not see any checks that it would be deemed administrative being complete until.
right,
And that went to
such
George?
time. It went to the. Elizabeth Guerin, Donald Pepe, who is
The
the
attorney.
attorney. So generally I deal with the
And that went out
attorneys.
today?
I sent one out actually. On September 3rd, when I received it and I asked if hard copies would be sent directly to the board engineer and the traffic engineer for the checklist. And the attorney and planner do not require hard copies, and I asked, were the application and escrow checks also delivered, and I got no response. So I sent
Okay.
out another reminder today when I came in, I see again that there's no checks. I had asked Carla if there had been checks, and I double checked again today, and there was none.
Alright, so I'll tell George that. Bob needs 3 weeks.
And we have 2 public hearings for that day. I mean, it's completeness, so
It's completeness, 3 weeks to review, and so
which might.
if he doesn't get us a check for escrow. This week, it pushes it out by another 6 weeks because it's an administrative.
Yeah,
complete.
and I don't wanna, I think the important point is to say that Bob won't do any work because.
Oh, yeah, no, we're not. gonna
Without the
authorize
check,
it.
right, we're not gonna authorize him to do any work until it comes, and then also if you can express to him that we don't want him to say, oh, I'll send it Friday, and then it doesn't arrive until Monday morning, and then
Well,
then he
It's
doesn't.
3 weeks back, so if he misses this week, then the next hearing date will be 2 weeks from the 8th. I mean, you know, it's just.
3 weeks.
Yeah, and then we get into. I think October's okay, but I think November. There's election day and there's Veterans Day. And
And then Wurzel's coming back.
Well, again, we're not going to have any professional
Well,
reviews.
yeah, unless they put up
another
another $25,000 in escrow,
Exactly.
you know, since it's such bad payers. All right, I'll send him a text and let him know that this is what's happening.
Mhm. This is a big project, it's a lot to look at, and we don't wanna put the borough finances in jeopardy for
No.
the sake of somebody not, we're not expending money that we don't have.
No, but I can push him the way he was pushing Beth and me for a year and a half.
Right.
It's amazing, he pushed us and pushed us and pushed us, and boy, oh boy, it's taking a long time to get him over here.
Yeah, funny how that happens.
I know.
Yeah. So, does that help, Eileen, to have that from the
Yes.
board, then that's the support.
Perfect, thank you very much.
No problem.
Appreciate it.
Problem at all. And of course, well, for the next meeting, though, then the 24th, we will still have that historic element of the master plan, which hopefully coincides with, the Independent Council meeting, so that should work perfectly.
And the resolution for Plaza One, that was.
Yeah, these resolutions from this, yes, exactly. I do have another one, and I'm just throwing this out there for the board to consider and probably for Beth to consider. Short-term rentals. We don't have anything that prohibits or restricts or regulates short-term rentals in our town right now. And I don't want to throw it out there for the board to think about, and we can talk it over next meeting, I think, to see what all your thoughts are, but I'm thinking that we need to propose that we maybe have something on the books.
So for this, when you say short-term rental, you're talking like your VRBOs, your.
Yeah.
Because we do have several of those in the borough,
Right,
like you can go, I thought at one point. I asked the prior clerk about this, and he indicated that we did have something. I'll take that item,
okay, so what,
so we can have the discussion, to see if there's something there, but I do think like, I wanna know who's coming in and out of the town.
Well, I'm not averse to any I'm not averse to short-term rentals, I've used them
But we
myself, I just
can
wanna throw
collect
that out there, but we are here are vested to consider the needs of the town, right, within the well, and what the town needs, and my concern with short-term rentals is it's good for tourism to bring a place for people to stay, but it can also overtake the town. And also, I think maybe there's a case for regulation. Regulation to say, let us decide how many we feel our town can support. And also collection, and I also want to be clear that if anybody is doing a short-term rental, that they write in the ordinance requirements for our town into their rental agreement, like the noise times and things like this. And also that people who are neighbours of a short-term rental are aware of that, and any privacy concerns for them are addressed. And I just feel that maybe it could be addressed through some sort of regulation thing. I'm not, you know what I'm saying? So I'd just like, if everyone can have a think about that, think about how they feel about that for our town, and Beth, how we would incorporate that. Obviously, it's gonna need council discussion also. I'm just throwing it out there as an idea, you know, that
I don't see any
follow those
short-term rental anywhere in our codes right now. I'm just
right, we don't
searching.
prohibit it, and I'm not looking to prohibit people renting out their properties, right, so that's why it could be a regulation for, it's got, maybe our minimum rental is a month, you know, so to stop the day by day, to not stop it, but regulate it. Think about what can be absorbed in our town. I know there are some towns that have been overwhelmed by Airbnb situations, and that's not what our town is about. We want our residents and our citizens here to live in an amazing community, and you know, you have a certain percentage of Airbnb, and I imagine that community spirit is diluted somewhat, right? That's where I'm coming from with that. So if everyone could just have a think about that.
Take a look at our hotel tax that we passed this year as well, that's something.
Right. How
That I
we,
pushed for prior to being council,
right,
because it's, and the registration of those businesses.
yeah, I think it might just be a registration, right?
Right.
And the a fee along with that could cover the fire marshal coming out to the building to make sure it's suitable for those kind of things. Our coded people coming out to make sure that the building is suitable to put people in, we don't put people in unsafe situations, for instance. And things like, is the privacy for neighbours and the renter outer puts in noise ordinances and the like. To make sure that we can control it somewhat, it seems reasonable. Without affecting their business. Okay, great. All right, so does anybody else have anything they want to raise in chair items, considering we're 8:45 now, we're doing really well with that time. But I don't want to stymie people, and we do have to go to executive session, so seeing that, and we'll move on. We already did item 12, so Cara, we are ready for you. Executive session you wish to go to, right?
Yes, I would like to go into a very brief executive session just to give an update on pending litigation regarding the living wall sign. We will not take any official action during executive session, and it is up to the board as to whether or not you want to return back to the public after executive session. If not, we can make a motion now to close the public session for good and enter into executive session.
I think that's it.
So I'll make that motion that we go into executive session and not come back out and no action will be taken. Is that what you need, Karen?
That's what I need.
And I'll second that.
Okay, can we take a roll for that, please,
We
Ally?
do all of it.
Oh, can we all in favour?
You can.
All in favour?
Aye.
Anybody not in favour?
What do we have to do with the recording?
Well, now we have to stop the recording, right, because we're going into executive session, so we
Right.
stop the
We
recording.
can pause it, or we can actually stop it
So
altogether.
stop it, because now we've adjourned, right?
Yes.
Yes, we've indicated we're not going back to public session, and we're going to close the exec and closing the meeting entirely. So we can close off the recording, take minutes, brief minutes of the executive session, and make sure we close off any ability of anyone to log into the Zoom.
Okay.